everybody, welcome back to Writer's Underworld with me. Welcome back like you've been here before, or there's anyone here at all. Not the point. Today's episode is entitled Word Count, Friend or Foe. I wanted to make this video because I think it's, if people will listen to the message, it's a very helpful message. And two, it's causing a lot of problems in books, just across the board. I don't care what genre you write. If you write any book of any sort, even nonfiction is going to have this problem. You're looking at your word count and you're like, well, I need my book to be 150,000 words. But you've got a 75,000 words story. And now you need double the length of the story in filler. All right, so so friend or foe? Is the word count hurting you or is it helping you? Well, I'm gonna tell you how it's hurting you, but then I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna help you. It's hurting you because your story is not big enough for all of these words. You either need more story or less words. You cannot stretch it out that far. You shouldn't be stretching it out at all. The story, yeah, maybe this is not the greatest thing but you know, whatever. Nobody watches it. You can't be stretching out your story forever, okay? Don't even stretch your story out a little bit. Just have a better story, have a bigger story. What you can do is have more stuff going on, you know? That's a good way. Don't stretch out the scenes more than necessary, but if you want to have a longer story, you can like split the plot off, follow some random characters into random directions. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend your story be the exact length that is supposed to be. So this is why you get these unreadable books. You get these unreadable books because people are trying to put a 75,000 word story into a 150,000 word book. And it's just dreadfully boring. I think it's people who, they don't know what they're doing. So if you're making this mistake, it's because you don't know what you're doing. I know that when I did not know what I was doing, I also made this mistake. You know, it's tough. It's just part of the learning process, is learning not to do this. But there's a silver lining to the cloud. But we got to continue discussing the dark cloud. You know, filler. It's just, you're filling your novel up with filler. People do it with YouTube videos too. Like, I'm filling this video up with filler so that we can have a longer video. We just have a shorter video. You got nothing to say, really. There's a lot that I want to say about this, but it's more of an experience. You know, this is something, when you're reading a book, you see it more. And when you're writing a book, you know you're doing it, because it's not coming easy. And you're trying to think of, how can I make this go more and more and more? But you're gonna start boring people. It doesn't, you know, why are you describing everything? You know, I've begun describing things less and less and less and less and less and less and less, to the point where I'm just very like that. And you know who did this? I kind of picked it up. I was doing it a little bit, but then I started reading William S. Burroughs, who wrote Tarzan and the Chronicles of Riddick, and his stories are just like bop 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 bop. And I saw that was kind of what I was doing anyways, so I went in that direction. And you're just, everything is exactly as much as it's supposed to be. It's not too little, it's not too much. But you know, literature is supposed to be like blah 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 blah. And it seems like it, you know, it's not supposed to be like that, but a lot of what we end up reading is like that. because of this word count problem. Word count. And then, you know, they say that a novel is supposed to be like between 90,000 and 120,000 words. But, you know, back in the day, books used to be a lot more than 120,000 words. And I always thought that was weird, but apparently it's just for shelf space, which that would not have occurred to me, to limit the size of a book for shelf space. But because of this 120,000 word maximum thing, I've got a couple that are longer, like this one is like 180,000 words, you know? So I've done some that are longer, but I wish I did more that were longer, but I was just trying to make it the way that they said that it should be, which is between 90 and 120,000 words. I think you should make it as long as you want to make it. If you want to do it 200,000 words, more power to you. I will appreciate it. Like James Michener, who knows how long that guy's books were? They're tremendously long. So, but James Michener's stories were sprawling, epic things that just went on forever. And, you know, you're following the characters through these ordeals, you know. So it works for him to have these really long books. And that one I showed you, I mean, I was kind of being like, you know, there was some time towards the end of it where I was like, I might be running out of stuff to talk about. But I just pretended it wasn't happening, which is, you know, that's the move when you're in that situation. You just pretend it's not happening and do what you got to do. So I understand because, you know, I've been on that side of it. So that's the problem. But what is the solution to this problem? It's not just the solution, it's a benefit. You just flip the problem around and suddenly it's a blessing. You know, if it's not a lesson, it's a blessing. So the lesson is, you know, don't get caught in this situation. But the blessing of the word count is that you can use it to tell you how flowery to make your writing, because your writing can be endlessly flowery and people will be endlessly bored with it. But if you don't got enough flowers, they're going to be like, where's the flowers? So it's a fine line of how much flowers do I want to put into my language. And so where the word count is your friend is you figure out, you know, well, I've got this certain amount of little extra space, so I can add more flowery language with this amount of space. I'll have this amount of language. And it'll help keep your story in the pace. It can help pace your story, because you think, well, all right, so I'm writing a novel of 120,000 words and I've got it just about correct. And then if you need to fill up a little bit, the filler is your flowery language. But you can't just have all filler, no killer. It should be all killer, little bit of filler. And the filler should be the flowers, you know, and then it should be that much. And see, the hard thing about adding the flowery language is you don't know how much to do, because you do it endlessly. Look at Anne Rice. She'll describe everything. And her books, I'm sure, are over 120,000 words a novel, because she's got this gargantuan Victorian mansion, and she's got to tell you all about the chandelier in the mansion. She got to tell you all about the carpet in the mansion. She got to tell you all about the doors in the mansion. She got to tell you all about the windows of the mansion. She got to tell you about the garden in the back. She got to tell you about the fruit trees in the front. She got to tell you about the gate. Ba 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 ba. You know, never mind the people inside of the mansion. She'll go on forever. And I mean, she's Anne Rice. She's one of the best. So it's okay if she does it, because she's so good at it. And you like to hear it because her voice is so beautiful, you know, so it's nice to hear. And the Vampire Chronicles are exciting. So this lady is doing something. If somebody else did it, it's going to be boring. But when she's doing it, it's exciting because it's just a great book, you know, or several great books. So, you know, there's a give and take with these things. I found, you know, you know, I'm just a working class guy that's always driving tractor trailers, and my writing has begun to reflect that. I used to be very flowery with my writing, and I would go on and on and on about anything and everything. But, you know, these days when I'm writing, I'm just like this. You know, I just, whatever. But I'm always using the word count. All right, this is a full-length novel. I have, the story's gonna fill up the whole thing. The one I'm working on right now, it's not gonna be the length that I wanted. I can tell already. And I'm like, well, I've got two decisions. I'm not gonna do the problem. I'm not gonna do the thing where you make too much book for too little story, but I will either shorten the length of the book, or I will tack on an extra continuation of the book to get it to where I want to be, because it does kind of, you know, drop off where the character could continue on doing some other stuff if that's the way it needs to be. But I'm trying to, you know, you're trying to hit the mark, you know, you're aiming toward the bullseye, and either you get it or you don't get it. So anyways, that's my point, is that, you know, your word count is going to be your worst enemy or your best friend. I use it all the time to help me stay inside of the margin, you know, because you don't really know where that margin is, because too much of a good thing or not enough of a good thing. But you use your word count to tell you, you go by how much story you have, and then you find the happy medium by. But at the same rate, if you don't have enough story, there's nothing you can do about that, because you can't just have all flowery language. It'll be a mess. And that's where you get these books where these people are just describing daily activities like we've never done daily activities, you know, and you've got the half of the book is just people, you know, making toast in the morning and walking the dog or whatever they do. So that's what you want to be afraid of. Anyways, I hope I was able to get my point across, and I hope that this hits home for some people. The takeaway is the word count is your worst enemy or your best friend. And it could be either one depending on how you use it. If you use it wisely, it's going to help you out. If you don't listen to my warning, then you could be putting out a bad book, which I've probably done with at least a couple of those. That's it for this video. See you later. Deuces.